Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you so much for joining us for our Thursday weather video across New Zealand, Australia and the South Pacific. And New Zealand about to go into a long weekend for Labour weekend, so we've got the weather forecast updated for that. And Australia dealing with a lot of rain at the moment and some more coming next week. We're going to break that down for you, including a special rain map for the whole screen you see here, covering the rest of the month. So that might just be a little helpful for some places. Let's take a look at what is going on for Thursday, and here comes the next cold change for New Zealand. It depends on where you live. Not everyone will be impacted by it, but a lot of the South Island and the eastern side of the North Island likely to get that change coming through. But being spring, any southerly gets knocked sideways by the windy westerly, so it'll only last about a day and then it's gone. Over on the Australian side, you can see the low quite clearly there in the darker shading. High pressure not only in the Tasman but also out near Tasmania going into the Southern Ocean. So these two systems are going to merge together, but either way it's like a big brick wall in the sky holding up the rain clouds for parts of Australia. And up in the tropics, not too dramatic at the moment, but the rain is certainly on the way as La Nina starts to peak. So let's have a look at the thunderstorms. Speaking of La Nina, extra warmth and humidity, that northerly flow coming down. You can see the current thunderstorms when we recorded this on Thursday morning. Not very much in the New Zealand area, but you can see that cold front approaching in the south. We've got some frosts on the way for New Zealand, as we've been talking about. The areas in purple show the frost risk, and the areas in blue 2 degrees and below, so right on the edges of it. You can see the South Island tonight has frost risks, including through central Otago, and then tomorrow night going into Saturday morning it shifts more into the North Island. The good news for Bay of Plenty and Hawke's Bay, it looks mostly inland, but if you do need to check if there's going to be a frost at your house or property, go to ruralweather.co.nz and use the free New Zealand Frost Forecaster. How easy is that? Here's the rain map for Australia. This is for the next 3 days coming up, starting from this morning. Heaviest falls around coastal parts of Queensland, including around Brisbane, and then down towards inland parts of New South Wales. The totals are getting up around 80 or 90 millimetres. It's not major, but it's certainly enough to cause problems in areas that have already had plenty of rain. If you haven't already had plenty of rain, this probably won't be too problematic, but watch out for those thunderstorms as we just showed you, because that could double the rainfall totals here and there. And down in Victoria, with all that flooding recently, you've only got about 20 or 30 millimetres, so it's not as bad as it's been. So it's not all dark and bad news. Here is the high pressure system as we go into the end of the working week on Friday. Note the southerly on the New Zealand side and the tropical northerly on the Australian side. So that's why you're getting rain or downpours and thunderstorms. On our side, just a few showers. Those snow flurries will be very isolated in the mountains and ranges, so don't expect a massive white, mountain range when you wake up. But there will be a few showers and the temperatures drop as we go through the day. As we go into the weekend, look at New Zealand for the long weekend. You couldn't have paid off a weather forecaster to give you a better forecast than that one. And no one did, by the way, unfortunately. Big high pressure zone, light easterlies at the top, couple of showers, maybe around the Bay of Islands and the far north, but it won't be very much at all. And a bit of a cold start as well with those frosts hanging around. And in Australia, the rain continues, especially in that Queensland, New South Wales border, and the rainfall further south not looking quite so bad. By Sunday, the next new low forms around Victoria, so that's the next kind of area of concern for you. Although the good news is with so much high pressure all around it, the rainfall totals may not be too problematic. So again, it's a bit of a wait and see moment right there. In the New Zealand area, the high pressure zone that's in charge of the North Island, now bringing in a warmer, much warmer, westerly flow. So temperatures are going to get up into the mid to late 20s, potentially for places like Canterbury, and the low to mid 20s elsewhere. It won't be as warm in the north because the winds will be lighter. Now to Labour Day Monday in New Zealand. Here comes the next cold change. Sorry to those of you in Southland and Otago who are a bit over it, but a bit more colder, wetter weather on the way for the public holiday. The North Island, a bit of a southwest lean, a little bit breezy, but mostly dry. And you're seeing that rainmaker, that low pressure zone, both of them on either side of Australia at the moment, sort of holding you down almost. And that's driving in a bit of rain, but it is fractured up. So may not be widespread for everybody, and we'll maybe need another day or so to still lock that all in. And as we go through into next week, Tuesday has high pressure still around the New Zealand area. A little bit cooler in the mornings, but probably not as frosty as it will be over the next couple of nights. And that low, large and lazy, now really bringing in more wind and rain for Tasmania, including Hobart. It'll be sliding down that eastern side a lot more. And our final forecast map, we've still got a rain one to go, but here is the Wednesday forecast. Southwest is in the South Island with a few showers. In the North Island, a couple of showers, maybe around Taranaki and Manawatu and Wanganui, but it may not be a huge amount, just maybe a couple of little showers here and there. But the high pressure zone firmly in control, and that lazy low pressure zone still stuck around Victoria and Tasmania, but it's not delivering very much rain. It's more of an annoyance at that point. So speaking of rain, now this might be a little confusing to glance at. We do get a few complaints about the key, which we don't make. It's an international standard. But just wanted to let you know, if you just don't worry too much about this. This is the area with the bulk of the rain, and this is right through to the very end of October. So on the New Zealand area, the blue you're seeing there at the very beginning of the scale, a lot of high pressure, so you're not seeing much in the way of rain. Eastern areas in New Zealand are looking very dry for the rest of the month. There'll be a little bit of wet weather in there, but it won't be much. The bulk of the rain in New Zealand on the west coast, getting up to 80 to 100 millimetres before the month is done, which by the way is not only normal, it might even be below normal. And on the Australian side, the reds and the purples are around that 80 to 100 millimetres. There are a couple of areas here in Victoria and northern parts of Tasmania that are getting up to that 150 millimetre mark, but that's right up in the hills and ranges. But that's the outlook for the rest of the month. You can see the further west you go, the drier it gets. And in the New Zealand area, the further east you go, the drier it gets. And that's because high pressure is dominating here, and the low pressure is right in the middle where you can see the red. So that is the forecast for the rest of October. I'm back again tomorrow, Friday, with the outlook for the weekend, an update on that rain for Australia. And of course, for New Zealand's long weekend, everybody wants to know where that rain will be falling on Monday. So we'll lock that in for more detail on Friday. We'll see you then.